I'm Catherine. I'm going to show you how I make the Weston A. Price homemade formula, and I do the raw cow's milk version. So first I buy my raw milk in bulk from a local farmer, and then I divvy up the gallon into about 3 Ziploc gallon-sized bags. If you use the milk only for formula, I would suggest measuring out the 2 cups that you would use per batch ahead of time. However, we use this milk in my family for other things. The rest of us drink it or use it for cooking. So I just put about this much in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag. I date it. So you can see this one is October 30th, 2017 is when I bagged it, which is usually a day or 2 after it was milked from the cow. And then you'll notice it's double bagged. That's very important to do. So you'll put it inside of one Ziploc bag and then turn it upside down and put it inside of another one. That way if the inner bag leaks, it will leak into this bag instead of all over your freezer. And you don't want to lose that precious milk. Another helpful tool is to get one of these off Amazon. It's called an Easy Defroster. And that is for you forgetting to take out milk to defrost. So I just put it in my sink and then I set my milk on it and it defrosts much quicker. You can go on YouTube and type in Easy Defrost video if you want to see examples with an ice cube. So then what I do is I have on my stove my pan, and I have 2 cups of filtered water. And then of course you take out 2 tablespoons of that so that you get the 1 7/8 cups required by the recipe. I put it in and I turn it on a low heat. And then, not sure how to do this. Let's see. Then I use 2 teaspoons of coconut oil. And I want to point out that I'm using this particular spoon. I got it at Container Store. Maybe you could find it on Amazon, Kitchen Art. And it adjusts, sliding back and forth. Make sure when you dump it though that you hold this, because sometimes it'll fall off. So I'll get my 2 teaspoons of coconut oil. And I'm not completely precise with it, as if baking, but I try to be pretty good, meaning I don't get a knife off and scrape it, but I use my finger. And then I can slide it back, and if the water's already hot, then I can just put it in and stir it. Otherwise, I usually just flip it in the best that I can. So obviously wash your hands before making this. So then that spoon I put right there. I put away my coconut oil. One of the things I find helpful is to put away the ingredients as I use them, so that you know that you've already used that. Then we'll come over and get our lactose. Oh, I realized the video turned. You probably couldn't see that. So over here, I have this container that I keep my ingredients in. And I go through and I take the lids off. The ingredients are not labeled, but it's not very confusing what they are. And on the inside of each container, I have a tag that tells me how much I use, in case I needed the reference. So for my lactose, we know I need a 1/4 cup, so I have a 1/8 cup scoop. And I just do 2 of those. And I just put it right in the water. And then I'm done with that. And I put a lid on. Also, I have a container in my fridge that has my refrigerated ingredients. So I get that out. And I put it over here. And I try to remember to get the butter oil next. And that's a 1/4 teaspoon. And again, I have this little teaspoon slidey spoon and the label that tells me how much to use. So I slide it to 1/4 teaspoon. And it's in the fridge, so it's kind of hard to get out. By now, your water may be warm enough. It may not. So sometimes I just bang it on the side and out it goes. The next thing that I put in here so that's done, and I'll take these out so I know to use those, is I get my cream. Now you can see here I freeze it in cubes, and this cube is 2 tablespoons, and then I have a big bag I just keep in my freezer, and so I get the cube out. Otherwise the raw cream doesn't last long enough when I buy it from the farm. And I put that in there, and again it's a low heat, and it'll all kind of melt and dissolve together. Get my teaspoon, I come over here, and I have my blender. And this is what we keep our raw milk in the refrigerator. I got this container at Container Store. I have a few of them. So I pour in my 2 cups, and I'm just using the measuring markers on the side of the Blendtec jar. And then tighten your lid. And put that back in the fridge. Then I take my spoon, I put it back onto my 1 teaspoon amount, and I get 2 teaspoons. You could use the larger spoon for this as well. And I put the lid on so that I know I've used it. And I'll have to put you down so that I can, oops, technical difficulties there. Okay. And then your 2 teaspoons of gelatin. Now I use the Great Lakes hydrolysate collagen, and that is not recommended by Weston A. Price Foundation. But I think you'll find that a lot of moms feel like the other ones, despite dissolving it, clog the nipple. So some people may then dissolve this. I don't find that's necessary. Now something else that I add into my formula that is not part of the recipe is colostrum. And I use the Anovite colostrum, and it says 1/2 teaspoon. I don't particularly measure that out. I just kind of eyeball it, and in it goes. And then I put the lid. I'm done with that. Now I know I've done all of those. I take these out. I don't use acerola powder. I use this Pure Radiance C powder. I don't like the maltodextrin ingredient in the acerola powders. So this is just food. So I'm getting 1/4 teaspoon. I'll have to put you down for this. So I have about 1/4 teaspoon, and I put it in. I find that and when I calculated it, I think it's more vitamin C, but the acerola powder is also more vitamin C than breast milk, so I think we're fine on that. Then I have the last 2 fats, so I'll have to put you down for those. I prefer to buy the smaller container of the olive oil because it stores in my basket better. So back to the 1 teaspoon. So I add that in, put the lid on, put it back in the basket, olive oil, put it back in the basket. Then I bring my fish oil over. I do not use the fermented one. I use the Rosita extra virgin cod liver oil. And because of that, I use 1 teaspoon, not the half teaspoon that it would be if you used the fermented. Lid back on. Then I have my whey, and I actually just made my own whey from a whole gallon of clabbered milk. And so I come over here, I use my spoon. You can see that that's going ahead and dissolving pretty well. So I'm done with that spoon. And I have tons and tons of whey from that 1 gallon. So I'll put you down. And I measure out a 1/4 cup of whey. And I put that into my container. Now you'll notice I do not include a probiotic because I actually use for our probiotic Gut Pro Infant, and it comes with special spoons. So I give her 1/64 of a teaspoon orally every day. I don't put that in the formula, although I could. So that's dissolved enough for me. So I go ahead then, and it's slightly warm. I believe Sarah Pope says let it cool. I pour it in anyway. Sometimes there's a little lactose left, and you might want to use a spatula to scrape it out. I'm not particular about that. Lid goes on. Make sure you press it down. There have been times when I haven't. That's a disaster. And I just pulse. And that's it. And now I actually will leave it sitting on the counter in the Blendtec for probably 10 to 15 minutes because the layer of cream on top, I don't think you can tell in the video, is very thick, and it will settle and go down because I actually pre-fill my bottles and I keep them in the door of my fridge. And so if I don't wait for that cream to go down, then I get a bottle or a few bottles that are mostly cream. And the baby doesn't like that. The other option, because I need this, I don't want to just put this in the fridge, is to just use, again, one of those milk containers from Container Store. And it has a nice sealing lid. But for one batch of formula, it's larger than this container, so you would need 2, or a spillover mason jar of some sort. So I think that's it as far as the formula goes. To reheat, my bottles are very cold because they're in the fridge. So to reheat, I actually have a hot water heater we use for coffee and such, and I just turn that on, and whenever it's hot, then I have my bottle, and I place it in there. This is a Dr. Brown's bottle, so everyone uses those knows that you have to take this off or else it'll spill everywhere. So I take that off and I set it here. I pour water in here and I leave it for a couple of minutes, and then I take it out and put the insert in, wipe it off, and we're good to go on the bottle. So I hope that helps. That's how we make the Weston A. Price raw cow milk formula here at our house. And just to see, you can see some of the amounts are on the outside. And again, on these, it's just on the inside. All right, good luck.